The children of the white race and the children of the colored race shall be taught in separate public schools, but there shall be no discrimination in favor of or to the prejudice of either race. All white children shall be taught in the public schools provided for the white race, and all colored children shall be taught in the public schools provided for the colored race. But no child with Negro blood, or what is generally known as Croatan Indian blood, in his veins shall attend a school for the white race, and no such child shall be considered a white child. Constitution of the State of North Carolina, 1923. Education is perhaps the most important function of state and local governments. It is required in the performance of our most basic public responsibilities. It is the very foundation of good citizenship. It is a principal instrument in awakening children to cultural values, in preparing them for later professional training, and in helping them to adjust to their environment. It is doubtful that any child may reasonably be expected to succeed in life if denied the opportunity of an education. Such an opportunity, where the state has undertaken to provide it, is a right which must be made available to all on equal terms. Chief Justice Earl Warren, Brown v. Board of Education, 1954. We see, therefore, that the use made of mathematical ratios was no more than a starting point in the process of shaping a remedy rather than an inflexible requirement. Awareness of the racial composition of the whole school system is likely to be a useful starting point in shaping a remedy to correct past constitutional violations. Bus transportation has been an integral part of the public education system for years and was perhaps the single most important factor in the transition from the one-room schoolhouse to the consolidated school. The importance of bus transportation as a normal and accepted tool of educational policy is readily discernible in this case. Chief Justice Warren Burger, Swann v. Board of Education, 1971.
1966 to 1969. Children will be provided with adequate facilities.
Up until now, our schools were good enough.
It's the best we could come up with.
All of a sudden, they're not good enough for white children.
People are not pawns on a chessboard.
When you start closing perfectly good schools,
the big factor is community acceptance of former Negro schools.
the reason breaks down.
People in these communities approve the closing of these schools.
White parents threaten to withdraw their students. Many already enrolled children in private schools.
It's not adequate, up to date, or sanitary.
We are the ones who are going to suffer.
There are no sidewalks. Our children won't be safe on the playground there.
Every time a white parent puts on pressure,
We don't object to integration.
the board backs down.
Even if it were an all-white school, I wouldn't want to send my child there.
Their only interest is racial separation.
We are not sending our children into a slum.
Many deliberate lies.
I had the assurance the school was not going to be closed.
The court demands maximum integration.
Dereliction of duty.
Secret meetings and complicity.
We offer freedom of choice.
We will not allow prejudice and injustice to prevail.
Desegregation plan spurs private school boom.
We are going to be heard.
We are against busing any students out.
We have sat back too long.
They can bus them in if they want. We are not against integration.
We will not allow discrimination.
Robert D. Potter will handle the case for the Southeast Charlotte parents against the court decision.
We will not allow injustice to prevail in our schools.
Potter will stick with us.
Would it not be better to let the court handle this matter?
Robert D. Potter.
Is there anyone in this room against education for every child?
Are you a communist or something?
Macmillan ordered the local school board to submit plans for active desegregation.
They can bring anybody they like to that school.
Rich neighborhoods have better schools. Poor neighborhoods have worse schools.
But I won't have my child taken away from here.
The Negro community was strangely, or perhaps understandably, quiet.
If the issue is integration versus education, I choose education.
Negro reaction to the court order never reached the public forum.
Where integration is natural, it is desirable.
If we had free public education for all children, we wouldn't have this problem.
Busing Negro children into other schools and white into Negro sections is silly.
Whites who reject and seek to appeal the Supreme Court decision
Is there no guts or sanity left in the white majority?
merely demonstrate why a Supreme Court decision was necessary.
Resist this senseless ruling.
I'm getting pretty sick and tired hearing people uptight about school busing.
If anyone thinks they're going to bus my children across town to make room for someone else's child, they're dreaming.
I was bused, and my husband was bused.
If John Doe wants his child to go here,
Integration is going to come.
let him work hard, save his money, and buy a house here.
Integration is going to come even, Stevens, straight down the line.
We do without in order to save for something better.
Where was all the concern when colored children were being bused
We buy sensible things at Christmas.
to keep the schools white?
Before anyone says he is poor, underprivileged,
Desegregation has been a one-way street.
doesn't stand a chance,
Black families moving to white areas,
let me tell you, I know better.
and no whites moving to black areas. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder, sisters of the truth. I know I am one of the lucky ones. Starting in 1982, my public school education represented the best of a social experiment with three names: desegregation, busing, and open schooling. I was transported from Southeast Charlotte into town for 10 years to schools where most of my teachers strived to care for each of us and individualized learning. On top of that, my parents had learned the value of education and social responsibility from their all-black schools and communities. They encouraged critical thinking and creativity in every corner of my being. I wish this kind of perfect storm on every child ever educated. Charlotte-Mecklenburg school busing did not drive us into paradise, but at least someone up there was sketching a loose map the best they knew how at the time. Because of school desegregation, I was friends with Fuak Lee in kindergarten at Irwin Elementary. In 4th grade, one of my best friends was Allison Gaddy, a white girl from my side of town. She was almost as funny as Piedmont Middle School buddy, Hilarious Patterson. I didn't know what side of town she lived on, but I can guarantee you that if I had gone to a neighborhood school, I would never have had the pleasure of getting to know her. I took all these relationships for granted. People came from different countries, different neighborhoods, and you learned who they were as people. That's just the way it was in my world. I can't say things were as diverse for other friends of mine, like De'Ara, who went to Cochran, or Lisa, who went to AG. The system was not perfect, but I like to think folks were making an effort. By high school, the student population was still diverse, but academic tracking or second-generation segregation was in full effect. I struggled with being a token black girl in some classes and feeling not black enough in other circles. Classrooms became more and more separate, and even then I had the experience and expectations to question why. I still do. But at least at that time, I felt we had a system that tried. 5 years after graduating from CMS in the year 2000, I taught at Garinger High School. My Spanish classes didn't have enough books for the students to take home for homework. Another teacher told me that at South Meck, there were extra textbooks because of the loaded PTA. Few of my students were white. Less of them were from affluent homes. All of them were brilliant in their own way. But I wonder how many believed that, especially when it came to academics. I wished for them what I wish for every child: the resources and love it takes to nurture minds, hearts, and souls. What if my wish came true? Maybe then there would be no such thing as getting lucky in an uneven system. Maybe then all children would get what they need to succeed. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. Brothers of the truth, we are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. Yes, we are climbing Jacob's ladder. Brothers of the truth.
The Charlotte school system is enjoined from assigning children to schools or allocating educational opportunities and benefits through race-based lotteries, preferences, set-asides, or other means that deny students an equal footing based on race. U.S. District Judge Robert Potter, 1999.
1999.
Who is my neighbor?
Once a system is declared unitary,
Judge Potter declares
the justification for race-conscious policies is gone.
the system unitary.
The system can't use any method to create diversity in schools, even when the parents wish it.
Thank you for your earnest efforts in doing the right thing
The ruling is unacceptable.
for the children of our wonderful city.
The ruling is a major step back for education.
What is the intent behind equality?
We are resegregating our schools,
In a school with only a few African Americans and mostly white people,
and opportunities for minority children.
won't the African American feel out of place?
Schools are the most plausible place where there is any hope of integration.
The city is in danger.
Judge Potter should have recused himself.
White people see the presence of black people.
No one listens to us. We have no voice. It's like we are in a huge chess game. The adults get all the good pieces, and the kids are just pawns.
And envision bad things happening.
We are in the throes of choosing what type of society we wish to create.
Even racially enlightened parents avoid certain schools.
Do we embrace hate and distrust, or fairness and respect?
Alexander Graham thinks Randolph is scum.
Moving 65,000 students to create gross inequity is wrong.
Which thinks J.T. Williams is scum.
A community is no healthier than its schools.
Which thinks Eastway is scum.
We are sending the wrong message to our children.
Which thinks Cochrane is scum.
People talking free and reduced like it's some sort of contagious disease.
To many white middle-class Americans,
There was such pride about the success of integration.
any school with too many low-income or black children
In the 70s and 80s,
will be perceived as bad.
doesn't anyone remember?
In 2007, in a 5-4 ruling, the U.S. Supreme Court held that it violated the Constitution to look at an individual student's race in making assignments.
Chief Justice Roberts.
Before Brown, school children were told where they could and could not go to school based on the color of their skin. The school districts in these cases have not carried the heavy burden of demonstrating that we should allow this once again, even for very different reasons.
Justice Thomas.
Government shouldn't support racial paternalism regardless if the motives are good. If our history has taught us anything, it has taught us to beware of elites bearing racial theories.
Justice Breyer.
It is a cruel distortion of history for Roberts to claim that efforts to continual racial segregation are constitutionally indistinguishable from efforts to achieve racial integration.
Justice Kennedy.
50 years of experience since Brown versus Board of Education should teach us that the problem before us defies so easy a solution.
Chief Justice Roberts.
Accepting racial balancing as a compelling state interest would justify the imposition of racial proportionality throughout American society, contrary to our repeated recognition that at the heart of the Constitution's guarantee of equal protection lies the simple command that the government must treat citizens as individuals, not as simply components of a racial, religious, sexual, or national class. The way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race.
Are we climbing Jacob's ladder? Are we climbing Jacob's ladder? Are we climbing Jacob's ladder? Sisters of the truth, does every round go higher, higher? Does every round go higher, higher? Does every round go higher, higher? Brothers of the truth.
2010. Are we willing to bus for diversity?
We can't agree on how to define diversity,
Deep differences.
let alone what role it should play in student assignment.
We look at people first. It doesn't have to be about race.
If you're going to force integration,
Are we willing to break concentrations of poverty
you have no business forcing segregation.
and make schools more diverse?
We create segregation by drawing boundary lines.
We have 9 different definitions of diversity.
Homeschools, magnets, equity, diversity, stability, predictability, transportation and facilities.
Diversity is
The deselection factor.
preparing students to compete globally.
Shocking how many schools have few white students.
We don't have low-performing buildings.
Affluent families choosing magnets, charters, and private schools.
We have low-performing students clustered within buildings.
We need to bring people back into the system.
We won't move students around to make a school look good.
They're not targeting schools that have giant PTAs.
It is our goal to improve results in low-performing schools.
They're targeting our children because we are who we are.
Hundreds object to CMS Plan 2 arrested.
Schools are mainstays of our communities.
Our goal is to improve low-performing schools
We're losing our jobs.
in a bid to save money
We're losing our homes.
and boost academic achievement,
Now we're losing our schools.
prevent academic slump.
It's time to stop losing.
Children leave Ashley Park on grade level.
We need to stand up and fight for what's ours.
By 7th grade, they're no longer on grade level.
In sacrificing kids for money, are we really going to see gains?
A safety hazard.
Arrests at CMS Forum spark public concern.
Worried that chanting would create a safety problem.
It is chilling and disturbing.
Plans would bring big changes to the West Side.
What does it mean for public engagement?
Disruptive, picking up steam, not slowing down.
Leading a chant, we want more time.
Crowd near 600.
People herded in and out.
Civil disobedience, unusual situation, out of control.
The board treated people from low-income neighborhoods unfairly.
At one time, we could afford schools with empty classrooms.
Charged with disorderly conduct.
CMS has a public perception problem.
There was no chaos.
That's the bigger problem now.
There was no disorder.
I am so disappointed.
What you saw was massive discontent.
The targeted schools have empty classrooms
We will not stand for what they're doing,
and/or low test scores.
what they're doing to our minority children.
The crowd was so big.
It is wrong to concentrate school closings in impoverished areas.
Speaking time was cut from 3 minutes to 1.
Denied residents a chance to weigh in on changes.
We hope the community will continue to come out.
The arrests damaged trust in CMS.
Gorman will not apologize.
We should all be willing to go to jail,
Crowd control handled appropriately.
to stand and defend our children. Tell me, do we love all children? Tell me, do we love all children? Tell me, do we love all children? Leaders of our youth, tell me, do we love all Children, tell me, do we love all children? Yes, tell me, do we love all children? Leaders of our youth. New arrivals just don't know. There is a saying that goes, people who forget their past are destined to repeat it. I am a graduate of Second Ward High School, a segregated black junior and senior high school of the 60s. I thought I was attending the best of the best when it came to schools, only to feel let down while taking the SAT at Myers Park in my senior year. I couldn't believe the extravagant buildings, the numerous science labs, etc. That was my first real clue that schools were nowhere near equal. Now here we stand, our backs seemingly against the wall, pushed there by strangers who have come from the north, west, and south, and are demanding a return to yesteryears. I almost detest seeing people move here who have not experienced what we did as children, telling us we need to go back to neighborhood schools. They keep saying, it won't be that way this time. All schools will be equal. Letter to the editor, Richard L. Robbins, January 31st, 1999. Some people say we're moving back to where we started, to segregation with a different face. Some people argue that it's not like that we can have neighborhood schools and equity in excellence. Are we progressing, or is history going in circles? Is this Jacob's ladder to peace and prosperity for all children in public schools? Or is this a circle game, as Joni Mitchell says? Stellar education for the haves and educational problems for the have-nots. The haves blaming the have-nots for the societal problems we face today, and vice versa. Our community has changed. We're no longer just black and white. We must educate a world society with inclusion of Latino, African, Asian, and American children. Where are we taking our children, our schools, ourselves? If we love them, why not serve them? If we love them, why not serve them? If we love them, why not serve them? Leaders of our youth, are we climbing Jacob's ladder? Are we climbing Jacob's ladder? Well, are we climbing Jacob's ladder? Sister,